As we are coming on the air tonight, a full-blown recovery mission is still underway in our nation's capital after a deadly mid-air crash between an American Airlines jet and an Army helicopter that left no survivors. Now, this is the deadliest crash involving a commercial flight in the United States in more than 2 decades. We know at least 28 of the 67 victims have been recovered so far as crews search through the cold waters of the Potomac River. And by now, you've probably seen videos of the crash, but if you haven't, a warning. That moment of impact is so disturbing. Footage from EarthCam capturing the moment that Black Hawk helicopter seems to crash right into the jet last night. That jet was on final approach to land, and this happened right near Reagan National Airport. That's just miles away from the White House, and the jet was flying in from Wichita, Kansas, carrying 64 people, including a group of figure skaters. 3 soldiers were on that Black Hawk. Memorials have been pouring in all day across different cities as we start to learn the names and the stories of those tragically killed. NBC Nightly News anchor Lester Holt has the very latest tonight.
Terrifying moments in the skies over Washington, D.C.
Crash. This is alert 3.
An American Airlines regional jet colliding with an Army Black Hawk helicopter, both plummeting into the frigid Potomac River.
Did you see that?
It was about 8:40 p.m. The American Eagle flight from Wichita, Kansas was just seconds from landing at Reagan National Airport with 60 passengers and 4 Charlotte-based crew members on board. 3 people were on the Black Hawk chopper, including at least 1 experienced pilot, according to U.S. military officials.
One of the keys to the investigation will be understanding the level of situational awareness in both cockpits and the tower. Were they seeing and talking about the same things? Was there a shared understanding? And did they understand the picture rapidly forming around them?
NBC News has learned staffing was not normal in the air traffic control tower at the time of the crash, but still acceptable by FAA standards. At one point, a controller can be heard trying to keep distance between the helicopter and the plane. The collision caught on EarthCam video. Ahmad Raza was at the airport to pick up his wife from a business trip when her plane went down.
I always pick her up from departures, and I always help her load the bag into the car and give her a big hug and a kiss, and then off we go. I had dinner waiting at home.
What do you want us to know about your wife?
My wife was such a giver. She gave and she gave and she gave, almost to the point of where she didn't think about herself enough.
They were college sweethearts. Now he is waiting to claim her body.
We are just counting down the hours until my phone here rings and we can go pick her up.
About 300 first responders worked through the night, pulling bodies from 35-degree dark and icy waters. Despite the massive rescue effort, by morning, it had turned into a recovery operation.
We don't believe there are any survivors.
On the flight from Kansas, several members of the U.S. figure skating community, including athletes and coaches, along with 2 Russian world champion skaters. Ross Lancel's ex-wife was a skating coach on board. He spoke with our Washington station, WRC.
It's tough, you know, like, they're gone. That's what kills me, it's these kids. Because I work with kids all day. It's just one of those things where you don't want to see anyone go through this.
Teresa Terry's daughter skated with 2 of the victims.
She was just absolutely devastated. There's just no words to describe. It's just unimaginable.
The Army has not identified the 3 people in the Black Hawk, which was conducting routine night training in the high-traffic airspace.
The helicopter obviously was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Today, the president offered his condolences.
We grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us,
while baselessly suggesting diversity or DEI initiatives contributed to the crash.
We must have only the highest standards for those who work in our aviation system.
When asked how he could blame DEI, this was Trump's response.
Because I have common sense. Okay.
The NTSB is leading the investigation and is the only agency authorized to release information about a cause.
We already have nearly 50 people on scene.
Jennifer Homendy is the chair of the NTSB.
Is this one of the worst fears of the NTSB?
Yes, it is. And it's actually something that I warned about before Congress when I last testified on aviation safety that this is exactly our worst fear. And here we are investigating a tragedy that we haven't seen in years.
We asked her about not normal staffing in the control tower when this happened.
What's the NTSB response to that?
That's not new to us. We have seen low staffing in other towers.
This is the first deadly commercial plane disaster in the U.S. since 2009, when 49 people died during a crash landing in Buffalo, New York. Now, families of the 67 are facing a new reality as they learn their loved ones were on these doomed flights.
Such a tragedy, Lester Holt. Thank you. And NBC's Emily Akeda is at the Potomac in Arlington, Virginia. She joins us now. I see some lights behind you. What's the latest from the scene there?
Yeah, hey there, Gadi. Well, the recovery efforts are not over yet. The divers, they wrapped up their day with sundown when we saw the sunlight leave. But we've been watching the flashing lights on the water continue, and that is because boats, according to officials, will continue to circulate the area, searching the surface. The divers will return to the Potomac River tomorrow, once again working hand in hand with the NTSB, law enforcement at all levels, tackling this very demanding mission. The D.C. medical examiner calling it the largest recovery mission the city has seen in decades as this continues, and they tried to bring solace and return the victims to their families. Again, 67 victims, Gadi.
Yeah, 67 victims, and we're hearing a little bit more about them. But parents, coaches, little kids. What else are you learning?
Well, one of the communities that has been especially hard hit is the ice skating community, because you look at where this flight was coming from. It was coming from Wichita, Kansas, where a national development camp program had wrapped up. It was operating in conjunction with the U.S. Figure Skating National Championships over the weekend. So a lot of people on board of this American Airlines flight have been skaters, rising stars, a lot of young skaters, 10, 12, 11 years old. Also their parents and coaches here in the D.C. area, the Philadelphia area, also training at clubs in the Boston area. Just in the D.C. area here, we've been watching makeshift memorials at various ice rinks throughout the region continue to grow as people go pay their respects, leave notes, try to come to terms with this devastating and shocking tragedy. Among the victims includes 12-year-old Brielle Breyer and her mom, Justina, a friend talking to us earlier today at their ice rink. Take a listen here.
My favorite memory with Brielle is playing games with her and talking. She is really, really talented, and she can do triples too. And I look after those people, and they were my inspiration.
Another hard-hit community is Boston. The Skating Club of Boston revealing that they lost 6 members of that club, including 2 skaters, 13-year-old Gina Hahn and her mom, Jin, also 16-year-old Spencer Lane and his mom, Christine, 2 coaches from Russia who had moved here in 1998, started working with that club in 2017. They leave behind their son, who is an ice skater himself. He competed earlier in the weekend at that competition. So many people reeling, people gathering in Boston today, a tearful, emotional day as they try to process the impossible, Gadi.
Yeah, no way to process all of this. And can you tell us a little bit more about the crew members on that flight, that American Eagle flight?
Yeah, so there were 60 passengers, 4 crew members, which included 2 pilots and 2 flight attendants. We've learned their identities. Denasia Brown, according to a cousin who said this is actually supposed to be one of her last flights before she had planned to change careers within American Airlines. Also on board Gadi, Ian Epstein. His family describes him as full of light. He loved his job because he loved the opportunities to travel as a flight attendant, but they say that he loved most of all his family. He was a father, a stepfather, a husband, a brother. There was also First Officer Sam Lilly on board, his father posting in an emotional message saying that he was supposed to get married later this year, a reminder of all the lives, the potential cut short in this terrible tragedy.
Yeah, so many futures just disappearing. And the military personnel on the helicopter, we know that there were no survivors between either one of these aircrafts. Do we know about the soldiers that were on board?
Limited information at this point. The Army officials, they have not confirmed who was on board. We know that 3 service members were on board. They were traveling from Virginia, Fort Belvoir, when they were flying over the Potomac, and that tragic collision had happened. Military officials telling NBC News that one person was a very experienced flight instructor as part of an annual evaluation standard routine that happens all the time, Gadi.
Emily Akeda, thank you so much for your coverage. And the helicopter involved in the crash, it's considered a cornerstone of military aviation. If you've spent some time in D.C., you've definitely seen those Black Hawks crisscross in the skies, and they're usually flying for all kinds of missions, including soldier and VIP transports, as well as training exercises, which the military says was the case last night when it collided with that commercial jet. And according to the Pentagon, the crew was experienced and equipped with night vision, and that training flight took off from Davidson Army Airfield from Virginia. That's about 15 miles away from that crash. The Army unit is now on a 48-hour flying pause while the Pentagon investigates. President Trump's pick for Secretary of the Army was asked earlier today about training flights like this one that was involved in that crash. And take a listen to what he said.
What will your strategy be to try and keep training flights out of harm's way?
It's an accident that seems to be preventable from what we can tell today. That should not happen. I think a focus from the top down on a culture of safety. There are appropriate times to take risk and there are inappropriate times to take risk. We might need to look at where is an appropriate time to take training risk, and it may not be near an airport like Reagan.
And joining us now is someone who has flown Black Hawks for nearly a decade for the U.S. Army, Elizabeth McCormick. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being with us. Before we get into this, it is still so early in the investigation, so we should preface all of this with what we're going to be talking about. It is all what could have happened as opposed to what did happen. But first, can you walk us through what that flight would have been like at that time of night, that low to the ground?
A lot of ground clutter, a lot of light, ambient light from the lights on the ground, reflections of the light with the water. It's a very difficult flight mode. Probably the only thing worse would be blowing sand or snow at night. And
this seems like a pretty critical area. I mean, this stretch of sky on final approach to the airport for commercial jets, but also a transit, albeit lower, you'd think, a transit for choppers that are going along the river there. When a jet is making a left-hand turn to line up with the runway, would this have put the chopper in like the blind spot of the jet, the belly side?
So my understanding is that the helicopter was lower than the jet. The jet was descending. It would be in the blind spot of the jet. He was slightly behind the helicopter. It was a blind spot for the helicopter. The helicopter was a little too high. The helicopter only had one crew chief, and in my opinion, should have had 2, one for each side, especially being in a very busy airspace on a visual flight plan where the onus is on the helicopter who's flying visually to create separation.
And we heard that in the radio traffic, and it was a little bit garbled on what they said about that separation right before that crash happened. But you just said there was one crew chief. A lot of times you see 2 crew chiefs, one on either side at the doors there. Is it required to have 2 crew chiefs, or what is the protocol right now?
Right now, minimum crew is 3. However, in busy, to me, if in busy visual airspace like this, I think we should change the policy and it should be 4. I think that's an immediate safety measure the Department of Defense could institute where 2 crew chiefs are required for VFR flights. And instrument mode's different, you're under air traffic control, but for visual flights like this, they can't see. The pilots can only see from straight ahead, to 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock on the other side. That whole back half, we can't see. We rely on the crew chiefs to stick their heads out of the window and look at the back part of the aircraft. My understanding from from everything in this, the way it's being recreated, again, this is just my opinion, is that from what I understand is that the airliner was behind and above, and it would not have been able to have been seen without a crew chief out the window. It's just a tragedy.
And we're also hearing speculation about, there were several aircraft in the area, and there were 2 regional jets that were on approach or at least in that vicinity. Do you think that there might have been confusion on, we've got a visual on what we think the tower is talking about, but in fact it was the wrong aircraft?
Correct. Yeah. The call from air traffic control on the video was, do you have the CRJ airliner? There was one taking off, and then this one was descending, and they didn't say at 11 o'clock, at 5 o'clock, and typically air traffic control should say that so they know where to look.
And if they were wearing night vision, so we don't know if they were wearing night vision, right? If they were wearing night vision, would that have complicated things, or would night vision just not be something that they would be using as a transit this particular area?
Yeah, night vision is part of a training, and it was a night vision proficiency annual check ride. So they probably were wearing night vision, but they might not have worn it the whole time, because that is a very lit, the airfield's a very, the airport there, DCA, is very well lit, and they might have flipped the goggles up. I can't speculate on that. I don't know what their mode would have been at that moment, and we may not know that.
And finally, when you saw that video, I mean, so many of us see that video, and to the layman, to the person that's watching on the couch, you're like, okay, well, here's a light in the sky, and here's a light in the sky. Like, how did they not see each other? But what went through your mind?
My heart sunk. I mean, this is a tragedy that shouldn't be politicized, and it should not have happened. It was just multiple errors on for different aspects. It's just a tragedy.
And we do see it somewhat politicized today. What were your thoughts about what we're hearing coming out of the White House?
On both sides, quite honestly. And I think we need to focus on the people, we need to focus on the safety, and we need to focus on what the next steps are to help all the families and friends that are affected by this.
That's so true. Elizabeth McCormick, thank you so much for your time tonight, and thank you for your service. And that plane that crashed last night was coming into Washington, D.C. from Wichita, and the community in Kansas, which has a population of just under 400,000 people, is coming together at prayer services. Here's one just a little while ago to mourn the victims. Let's bring in Shaq Brewster, who's in Wichita right now. Shaq, how's the community holding up tonight?
Well, Gadi, it's definitely tough for so many people here. There's heartbreak, there's grief, even as there's a lack of understanding of the depth of the loss here in Wichita. You heard from city leaders earlier today, even the governor saying they don't know how many people were on that flight from this area, from this state. There are reports in local media, on local newspapers of individual people or individual families who might have been affected, but they don't have a total number on how many people were lost and how many people were actually on that flight from this area. And that's making it hard for some who were at that community event that you see on the side of the screen. It was a community prayer event. They then went outside and had a circle around a makeshift vigil that was starting to be put up there. But, there was a sense there that people were almost bracing. They knew that more names were going to come out, and they're waiting for those details, and they're waiting for the ability to start grieving specific individuals. And I want you to listen to a little bit of the conversation I had with the mayor here just after that event that we saw earlier today. She explains the complications and the feeling that the community is facing. Can you describe the pain that the community is feeling right now?
Our hearts are truly very heavy right now. As a community of about 400,000 people, we know that we'll be affected in multiple ways. We might know some of those individuals. I personally do know one of them.
The mayor explained that she met that family, knows about that individual because of the assistance center that was set up here at the airport. And she also explained that there were no more families who came to that center, that many of them are just calling American Airlines to report loved ones missing or get more information directly through the airline. But one nugget that we did learn from the governor during the press conference that happened about 2 or 3 hours ago is that state leaders and city leaders are expecting to get the manifest. They're expecting to know the individuals on that flight at some point tomorrow, and that is hopefully when they can kind of get into the next process of what we know will be a long grieving process for this community, Gadi.
And Shaq, you've been doing incredible reporting out there all day. I caught one of your earlier reports, and I think that mayor was talking about how she started with a flight on that flight, which is only like a year old, right? How popular is this flight, and how important was it to have a flight from Wichita to D.C.?
Yeah, you know, and you heard her talk about how tight-knit of a city this is. And she said her first day in office was when the first nonstop flight from Wichita to D.C. was launched. And she talked about the pride that the community had and the celebrations that were had by people here. Another person at that vigil or that prayer event earlier today talked about remembering the specific date that he took that flight, that he remembered it was just a couple of weeks ago when he took that flight from actually coming home from D.C. to Wichita. People know about that. Wichita is called the aviation capital of the world. There's a huge industry here for airplane manufacturing. People are proud of the aviation history here. They're proud of the fact that they were able to get that flight. You heard the senator, one of the two senators, talk about lobbying American Airlines to get that, and it was a route that he took regularly. That's another factor of this and explains the complications of emotions and feelings that folks have here.
Yeah, such a dark chapter for their history there. Shaq Brewster, thank you so much. And as we've heard, many of those passengers on the plane were part of the U.S. figure skating team, and 6 of them were affiliated with a historic skating club outside of Boston, Massachusetts. It gave us Olympic medalists like Nancy Kerrigan, who today spoke out about the tragedy and was overcome with emotion.
Anytime I've been able to be here and watch them grow, the kids here really work hard. Their parents work hard to be here. But I feel for the athletes, the skaters, their families, but anyone that was on that plane.
And Sam Brock joins us tonight from the Skating Club of Boston in Norwood, Massachusetts. Sam, these are some incredibly talented kids with these bright futures, tragically cut so short. How is that community reacting tonight?
Yeah, they are the future champions of tomorrow, is how it was described to me by the CEO of the Skating Club of Boston, Gadi. Basically, the most talented skaters in the country that have been identified for their potential and are training right here. Nancy Kerrigan was standing basically where I am right now in what is, at this moment, an empty facility. Here's what's incredible about this to give you a sense of the community and also just the fear and the uncertainty that evolved over the course of the last day or so. In terms of the community, 1,100 members of this skating club, 850 active ones, Gadi, and that goes from Olympic aspirational talented athletes to coaches to people that just love to skate, all of them intermingling in this space, right? So when you talk about the loss of life of 6 different valued members of that community, they all describe themselves as being part of one large family, and it is immediately felt. It is immediate pain and shock and despondency. I think that would be to be expected. Here's the other thing that I didn't realize until I just spoke with the CEO here just a little while ago, is that this was a scenario where they sent 12 skaters, 12, to that developmental camp in Wichita, not knowing until really just hours ago how many of them were actually on the flight that crashed. It turns out it was 2, Gina Hahn and Spencer Lane, but also both of their mothers, and also 2 beloved coaches. That's how you come to that figure of 6 and the sheer devastation that's wrought by this tragedy. I want to give you a sense, really, talking to 2 other world qualifying pair that are going to be competing at Worlds here coming up, which, by the way, is going to be held here in Boston in about a month and a half. They describe Gina and Spencer seeing them every single day on the rink that you're looking at them practicing on right now and behind where I'm standing. Here's how they characterize them as personalities, as talents. Take a listen.
The Skating Club of Boston is a family-based community, and so we lost family members today.
For people that don't know Gina, how would you describe her?
She's a little energizer, very active, very positive.
Anytime you said her name, it was always with a smile. So that's something that we're going to miss.
We saw her every day as well. Speed with which he was progressing in figure skating was very, very unique. I've never seen something like that before.
The amount of time and stress that we go through together, that's what brings us together, and that's what makes us all so close.
It is a lifetime of sacrifice. And the reality is right now, many members of this community, Gadi, still don't know how many skaters and who specifically was on board that flight, right? They know the 6 here, but it's still a very ambiguous picture. And imagine living in that state of uncertainty.
Yeah.
That's the reality they find themselves in tonight.
And not only that, this very tight-knit family, like they've gone through something like this before, a plane crash, a tragedy like this in the 60s, right?
The parallels are haunting and ironic and cruel in so many ways. Over my shoulder, there's a bunch of pictures. I don't know if you can see it quite from where, actually, I think you might be able to see it there, of all of these different teams, national teams going back to really the 1920s. This started in 1912, the same year as the Boston Red Sox. In 1961, there was a tragic plane crash involving the U.S. team traveling to Belgium. Almost half of the members who died on that flight were somehow connected to this rink. According to the CEO, he said it was like a weight on their chest for decades. No one talked about it. No one wanted to talk about it. It affected figure skating in the Boston area and in this community for generations. They felt like they finally moved past that, right? And now are looking at yet a very parallel situation today. He said this time there's going to be transparency. There's going to be grief counseling. We're going to talk about it and not internalize it in the hopes that allows folks here to move on the best they can. But hard to even put words to losing loved ones, kids, Gadi, right? In one case, those two coaches, their son is an aspiring Olympic athlete. He's now the only member of the family that's alive. He lost both of his parents. In Gina Hahn's case, her dad lost his wife and his daughter, and he's the only one left standing. I mean, just like try to conceptualize that for a second as a parent, as a member of any family. Like, this is their reality right now, and it's incredible the strength they're showing in talking to us and doing these interviews and what they have to face now.
Yeah, the loss is just absolutely staggering. Sam Brock, thank you so much for putting names and faces to this incredibly tragic story. And joining us now is Olympic gold medalist and skating legend Dorothy Hamill. Dorothy, thank you so much for being with us, and we are so sorry about the circumstances here. I can't even imagine what everyone is going through, and we're learning more about those involved. Virginia and Vadim, those Russian skating icons, and what this trip meant to them in particular. What does this all mean to the skating community?
It's tragic. I knew the coaches. I skated with them, and the camp that the youngsters were attending, like high performance camp. They're the future, and it's just tragic. We have a very tight-knit, figure skating is a very tight-knit community. I didn't know some of the skaters, other maybe others that I discover I do know, but it's reminiscent of the 1961 plane crash where the entire world team perished in going on their way to the World Championships in Brussels. So it's, these youngsters are future of figure skating. So it's going to take a long time to rebuild that. And figure skating has just gone off the charts. Difficulty and athleticism. It's just mind-boggling, and it's really tragic what's happened.
Yeah. And for all of us at home, we see these pictures, we see these brilliant smiles just shining through the screen, and that's only scratching the surface, right? So what loss is there that we just suffered to the world?
I don't even know. It's unimaginable to think of it. Of course, our little skating community, we've been all, chatting all day long, and the tragedy of it all after the 61 plane crash, they had to rebuild, and it was 2 generations of skaters, which is 8 years in skating. And now when we think about it, these youngsters were in their teens, and they're the future. They were the ones that are supposed to be, you know, the next national Olympic champions and world champions. And it's just hard to imagine where U.S. figure skating goes, because we were so much on the radar with the champions last week in Wichita. I don't even know how to describe it or how we come back. We will, but losing some of the greatest coaches and the up and coming talent skaters. I'm sort of speechless when it comes to that.
No, yeah, there are no words to describe this, and again, I can see, you know, trying to think ahead for what comes next to Team USA and for skating, and it just seems too soon, right?
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. We just have lost so many in the past years, just for other reasons, but to see young team members that are at this high-level development camp, you know, they were the future. And, you know, and where it goes and how we come back, I think it'll be a while. But, you know, skating has just grown, and in popularity the last couple of years, it's just exploded, especially the U.S. skaters. And so I just have a hard time understanding how long it'll take to come back. We will, but it's just, my heart just hurts and aches for the parents and the other competitors and coaches, because we are, as you said, a very tight-knit community. And I mean, it goes back, I mean, from Dick Button until now, we all know each other and work together, and it's just such a loss in so many ways.
Yeah, your hope is something that we all share in this horrible time. But thank you so much for the time tonight. Olympic gold medalist Dorothy Hamill, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And tonight, as the NTSB starts their investigation, the big question that everyone keeps asking over and over again is what went wrong? And our Tom Costello is looking for some answers.
Tonight, a source tells NBC News a preliminary FAA report on the midair crash indicates staffing at the Reagan Airport Tower was not normal for the amount of traffic at that hour. Normally, one controller handles planes while another controls helicopters. But Wednesday night, one controller was doing both at the time of the crash, though that is acceptable under established FAA standards. Investigators' best clues into what went wrong may rely on those last few words as controllers asked the chopper crew if they could see the CRJ, the regional jet.
S25, CRJ in sight. S25, pass is CRJ. S5 has an aircraft in sight for separation.
The response is garbled. Does the chopper pilot say aircraft in sight?
S5 has an aircraft in sight for separation.
If so, why did they collide? Miracle on the Hudson captain Sully Sullenberger says that radio response is critical.
It changed the rules, and it required that they see each other until they were safely clear.
Like many airports, Reagan has had its share of close calls in recent years. March 7, 2023, controllers ordered a United flight to abort takeoff after another plane crossed in front of it. April 18, 2024, a Southwest plane crossed a runway just as a JetBlue flight was preparing to take off. May 30, 2024, a controller canceled takeoff after another airliner was cleared to land on an intersecting runway. Veteran pilots say flying up the river to runway 33 involves staying between 400 and 500 feet, while helicopters should be flying beneath them under 200 feet.
It requires a lot of skill. The runway is very small for an airport that handles this amount of traffic.
The new transportation secretary says last night's flight activity was routine.
This was not unusual with a military aircraft flying the river
and aircraft landing at DCA.
Tom Costello, thank you. And joining us now to talk a little bit more about this is aviation attorney and pilot Tim Loringer. Tim, thank you for being with us. I want to play some comments from the new Secretary of Transportation today, and we can talk about it on the other side here.
We have early indicators of what happened here, and I will tell you with complete confidence, we have the safest airspace in the world.
Safest airspace in the world, yet today so many people that have flights are going to be thinking about what just happened and wondering if they should get on those flights. Do you agree with the Secretary's statements there?
I do agree. I do agree that, if you look at what happened, this tragedy, my heart goes out to everybody who's involved. It's been, it's many years, 20 years, more 25 years since we've had a tragedy like this here in the United States. And that's a testament to improvements that have been made in the aviation industry, from manufacturing through to air traffic control and the way that we monitor and control airspace here. So I do agree that we have the safest airspace in the world. Things go wrong. Something has happened. What's important is that we focus our attention on finding out what it was so that we can make sure it never happens again.
And for people who are worried about getting on a flight after seeing this, how do you compare flying to other modes of transportation?
If you look at the statistics, millions of people fly in the United States every year, and there are no incidents like this. It is a very safe mode of travel. It's unfortunate that when something goes wrong, it is very visible, and it often involves a large number of people. So, of course, it's very scary for people who see what has happened and are anticipating their own travel, getting on an airplane. If this hadn't happened, people would feel more comfortable. Unfortunately, things like this happen. It's important for people to realize that what's happening, they're flying with the best trained pilots, they're flying with air traffic control that is very well trained, and that they are safe.
And yet, for a long time, we've been reporting on staffing levels and a shortage of both pilots and a shortage of air traffic control operators. We've heard Tom's reporting on the air traffic control tower staffing at the time of the crash. How critical is it for those staffing levels to be beefed up across the country here?
Well, it's very important. It's very important because with air traffic control, they don't want to get into situations where they're meeting the very minimum standard. That is, as the report indicated, having one controller handle both the aircraft and the helicopters is within the regulations, but the most optimal situation is best, and that is that they have multiple people so that their workloads are not, they don't become overwhelmed with their workloads. And so, of course, having more air traffic controllers available, having pilots available, that is critical and very important.
And again, we haven't had a fatal crash like this in decades, and yet when something like this happens, there are some very drastic changes that go into effect in the years that follow. What do you see, what do you foresee happening in terms of regulation or possibly like upgrading avionics as we go forward here?
Well, that's a very good question. What about the systems on the aircraft could be improved in some way to give pilots more information about aircraft that are flying in their vicinity? That's something that certainly will be looked at. What happened with the air traffic control? Once we understand exactly all of the facts that went into this situation, improvement can be made on manpower, as you said. Also making sure that pilots are aware of the flight restrictions at the airports, knowing what altitudes that they're supposed to be operating in to ensure there's appropriate separation. There will be lots of changes in focus once the picture has been properly painted about what has happened.
Yeah, those cannot come soon enough. Tim Loringer, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Sure. And we've got a lot more to cover tonight, including much more on President Trump saying DEI programs are to blame for the collision. Our Vaughn Hilliard is joining us next to break it down. Hey, welcome back. We're continuing to follow the latest in that tragic mid-air crash between an American Airlines jet and an Army Black Hawk helicopter over the Potomac River near Washington, D.C. last night. Now, it is a recovery mission at this point after all 67 people involved are not expected to have survived. And here's what we know so far. 64 people were on the American Airlines commercial jet. 3 crew members were on the helicopter. And at least 28 victims' bodies have been recovered so far. We also know that 2 black boxes have been recovered. Officials say the plane is broken into 3 different pieces on the river, which is about 7 feet deep there and freezing cold right now. A lot of the victims were part of the figure skating community. And NBC's Aaron McLaughlin joins us now from Arlington, Virginia. Aaron, those 2 black boxes that were recovered not too long ago, and then there's the matter of staffing at DCA not being normal at the time of the crash, even though it was still within safety standards. So what are we learning about the investigation here overall?
Yeah, Gadi, today was the first full day of the NTSB's investigation, given the rescue operation that was underway last night. Today, that rescue operation moving to a recovery operation. The NTSB then was allowed to get some 50 personnel onto the Potomac looking for clues as to what exactly happened, the probable cause of the crash. As you mentioned, they did manage to recover today 2 black boxes from the American Eagle jet. What's unclear is if they were able to recover the flight data recorder from the Black Hawk helicopter that was part of this crash. The Department of Homeland Security today tweeting photos of the debris field. One of those photos shows what appears to be the wreckage from the Black Hawk helicopter floating on the river. Just chilling images. This as there are more questions about staffing at the air control tower at the time of this tragedy. According to source with knowledge, normally, given the level of traffic at the airport, there are 2 controllers, one responsible for helicopter traffic, one responsible for plane traffic. The night of this tragedy, there was one controller doing both of those jobs. Now, according to this source, that is compliant with FAA regulations, but not ideal. And one of many questions outstanding. The NTSB says they are going to be releasing facts as they find them, but it could potentially be months before we get that definitive probable cause of this collision. Gadi.
And yet air traffic is back up and flying today as things get back to normal at DCA. Like, how are people feeling with the tragedy looming in the background?
Yeah, as you mentioned, the airport opened today, although a substantial number of flights, about 500 flights, were canceled for today. Our team on the ground there in the airport did manage to speak to some folks who flew in to Reagan National Airport, actually flew over the debris field, and they said it was chilling. Take a listen.
It's just so horrific when stuff like that happens, and you hope it would never touch your family or even be anywhere near where you would be going. You hear it on the news, but to see it is something just I don't have anything. There's no words to describe how sad it is to see something like that.
And tonight there are also questions about the congestion about the air, with having to do with the airport. Back in May, the FAA approved 5 additional flights to land at the airport, despite the safety objections of some senators, of some politicians, despite concerns about the sheer volume of air traffic in and around this airport. Again, another thing that will likely be part of that ongoing investigation, Gadi.
Yeah, not the busiest airport, but some of the busiest runways in the country. Aaron McLaughlin, thank you. Turning now to the politics of it all, less than 24 hours after the deadly collision and right after the beginning of what is set to be a very long and detailed investigation, today, President Trump looking to blame Democrats and DEI policies for what happened over the Potomac. Take a listen.
I put safety first. Obama, Biden, and the Democrats put policy first. And they put politics at a level that nobody's ever seen, because this was the lowest level. Their policy was horrible, and their politics was even worse. So as you know, last week, long before the crash, I signed an executive order restoring our higher standards for air traffic controllers and other important jobs throughout the country. They put a big push to put diversity into the FAA's program. They actually came out with a directive to white, and we want the people that are competent. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan. Think of that. The initiative is part of the FAA's diversity and inclusion hiring plan, which says diversity is integral to achieving FAA's mission of ensuring safe and efficient travel. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's just the opposite.
And joining us now is NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. Vaughn, he seems to be saying two things at once there. The cause is still under investigation, but then also Democrats and DEI. Did he explain how he thinks DEI played a direct role in this crash?
No, the President of the United States has no evidence to this suggestion, and at least publicly, he even acknowledged himself that he wasn't saying that air traffic controllers, for instance, his example, that there was a problem with them, but he was just simply suggesting that DEI has had a negative impact on the aviation industry in the FAA, but also suggested that there was problems with the pilots of the Black Hawk helicopter. But again, those were three members of the military, and it was a stunning press conference, if you will, from the President of the United States, with no evidence presented that there are any questionable credentials or qualifications of any of the individuals involved in this tragedy. He turned to DEI hiring, which has been a focus of his for the last 10 days since his inauguration, to somehow combine these two events as just 4 miles down the road from the White House, bodies in real time are being pulled from the water.
And realistically, going forward, I mean, part of this investigation, whether it's from online sleuths to the NTSB, like, the credentials are going to be examined from everybody involved here, and there is going to be a DEI microscope aspect to all this. I have to ask, is the NTSB an independent agency, or do they fall under the executive branch? And could his comments here affect the investigation at all?
Right. Of course, that's a concern, understanding that the president has indicated that he views this one way, again, without presenting evidence. The NTSB is part of the Department of Transportation technically, but it's an independent agency within the department, and the chair is somebody, and the other members are appointed by presidents. Let's be very clear, Gadi, this is not a political agency, and investigations have never really been politicized. I want to let you listen to the chair of the NTSB here today talk about what that investigation will look like.
We look at the human, the machine, and the environment. So we will look at all the humans that were involved in this accident. Again, we will look at the aircraft, we will look at the helicopter, we will look at the environment in which they were operating in.
The NTSB chair there suggested they are going to look at all of the individuals involved. Something obviously went wrong. 67 people are dead. But the President of the United States, instead of honing in on the idea that the investigation will continue here, focused on another element of his political agenda.
Yeah, and the president also name-checking Democrats there. What are they saying about all this?
Right. I listened to Minority Leader of the House of Representatives, Democrat Hakeem Jeffries. He commented. Take a listen.
People are suffering. And the leader of this country decides to go out and peddle lies, conspiracy theories, and attack people of color and women without any basis whatsoever. Have you no decency? Have you no respect for the families whose lives have been turned upside down?
During his remarks today, Donald Trump, the president, also took a swipe at former Department of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, referring to him as bleep BS. In response, in a social media post, Pete Buttigieg, who is now out of public office, responded in part, quote, "Despicable as families grieve. Trump should be leading, not lying," going on to say time for the president to show actual leadership and explain what he will do to prevent this from happening again. Gadi?
NBC's Vaughn Hilliard, thank you. Meanwhile, as the search for answers continues, so many are wondering whether there were any warning signs. And here's what Virginia Senator Tim Kaine said about it earlier today.
But yeah, I've been very, very concerned about this very complex airspace, commercial, military, and the way that the security demands of being the nation's capital puts some significant restrictions on it. And I am really worried about that. And I've been praying that there wouldn't be something like last night, but kind of dreading in my heart that there would be.
Let's bring in NBC News correspondent Garrett Hake. Garrett Hake, hindsight is 2020, but have there been big concerns about crashes like this coming up before this happened?
Yeah, Gadi, there has been for years, frankly. I've been in Washington for 10 years now, and I've covered this debate when it comes up every couple of years. This is the single busiest runway in the nation, some of the most congested airspace in the country. And Congress, every time these FAA reauthorizations come up, which happens every few years, keeps adding additional flights into DCA. It is a very convenient airport. It's very popular, including for lawmakers. And every time Congress gets the opportunity, they add more and more traffic to it. This last happened last year where Tim Kaine, the Virginia senator you just played sound from, was one of only a handful of senators to argue against this. This is part of the reason Dulles Airport was built a little bit further out in Virginia, meant to take in more long-haul flights, more air traffic in general, without encroaching on this crowded, in many ways restricted airspace around the nation's capital. Now, there's no direct link yet whatsoever. I shouldn't even say yet. There is no direct link that has been established between the flight that was flying last night and additional flights into DCA. But for people who follow this closely, there has been this concern about constantly adding to the crowding at DCA for quite some time.
And we also heard from Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas. Let's take a listen to what he said.
Folks, this is one of the busiest airspace in America. And for some reason, those transponders between this military helicopter and the civilian jet do not communicate with each other. You know, I don't know why they would be allowed in this airspace if they don't communicate with each other. I think it's just set up for failure.
And Garrett, is that true? Do they both have transponders, but they just don't interface with each other?
I can't speak to the technical aspects of it, Gadi, but I know that in this airspace, the way this is typically done, this is why you have the air traffic controllers. They are meant to try to bridge the gap here between all the civilian flights in this airspace, both commercial and general aviation, and the military operations that happen in this airspace, whether it's Black Hawk from Fort Belvoir, as this appears to have been, or flights out of JBA, where Air Force One takes off. You need air traffic controllers. I'm not sure, and again, I am not the expert on this, that just having a technical communication between these two aircraft would have been enough. If the hands-on effort from the air traffic controllers wasn't, I don't know if just pinging transponders makes a difference here.
Yeah, Garrett Hake, thanks for breaking that down for us. And still ahead tonight, a pair of grillings on Capitol Hill for President Trump's critical nominations. That's coming up, so stay tuned. And welcome back. We now turn to Capitol Hill, where two of President Trump's most vulnerable cabinet nominees testified before the Senate as part of their confirmation process. Kash Patel, who Trump tapped to lead the FBI, and Tulsi Gabbard, Trump's pick for National Intelligence Director, both facing a lot of questions from lawmakers. NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles has the latest.
Hey there, Gadi. Both Tulsi Gabbard, who is Donald Trump's pick to be the next director of national intelligence, and Kash Patel, his pick to run the FBI, faced a lot of tough questions in their hearings today. The big difference is that all the tough questions for Patel came from Democrats, while Gabbard got quite a bit of scrutiny from Republicans.
Tonight, a pair of President Trump's top national security nominees facing high-stakes confirmation hearings.
There will be no politicization at the FBI.
Former federal prosecutor Kash Patel, nominated for FBI director. The staunch Trump supporter pressed by Democrats about his independence.
Would you be willing to resign the post of FBI director if pressed and given no choice but to obey the order or resign?
Senator, I will always obey the law.
And President Trump's pardons of violent offenders from January 6th.
I do not agree with the commutation of any sentence of any individual who committed violence against law enforcement.
Patel strongly defended by Republicans.
The reason you're here is because most of the public, almost every Republican, believes that the FBI has been used continuously in a political fashion, lying to get Donald Trump.
Across the Capitol, former Democratic Congresswoman and combat veteran Tulsi Gabbard, nominated for Director of National Intelligence.
What truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet.
Gabbard pushing back on claims she parroted Kremlin talking points.
I want to make certain that in no way does Russia get a pass in either your mind or your heart.
I'm offended by the question because my sole focus, commitment, and responsibility is about our own nation.
And pressed over her previous call for a pardon for Edward Snowden, who fled the U.S. after releasing a trove of government secrets.
Is Edward Snowden a traitor to the United States of America?
I understand how critical our national security
Apparently
is.
You don't.
Republicans left the Patel hearing seeming very confident that they believe he has the votes necessary to win confirmation. But they do seem a lot more skeptical about both Tulsi Gabbard and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is his pick to run Health and Human Services, though at this point, not a single Republican has said that they're willing to vote no. Gadi?
Ryan, thank you. And here's some of the other headlines we're watching tonight. There are new developments in the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Hamas freed 8 hostages today, including 3 Israeli hostages and 5 Thai nationals. They were taken to hospitals for medical treatment, according to the Israeli military. And Israel also released 110 Palestinian prisoners and detainees after an initial delay. And the most recent rising leader in Syria just got more power. Rebel leader Ahmed al-Shara is officially the transitional president. Now, he's basically been in charge since the rebel coalition took down the Assad regime. He's been given the okay to form a temporary legislative council, and he has suspended the national constitution. The U.S. Department of Education is investigating a Colorado high school over a bathroom. A women's bathroom in the Denver school has been converted into an all-gender one, which the feds now say discriminates against female students because the facilities for men and women are not equal. The district says the change was made after a student asked for it. The British pop singer and actress Marianne Faithfull has passed away. She was a huge part of the British invasion in the 1960s, best known for her hit As Tears Go By. Faithfull has also been credited with inspiring some of the Rolling Stones' biggest hits. She was 78 years old. And stay tuned tonight because some of the biggest names in music are coming together to help raise funds to recover the efforts for LA wildfires. Billie Eilish, Lady Gaga, Olivia Rodrigo are set to perform during Fire Aid. You can watch it right here on NBC News Now starting at 10 p.m. Eastern. All donations will be matched during that live broadcast. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gadi Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow. But until then, stay tuned now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.